Welcome to the EnsoReal Paradigm Shifters podcast. This show is for and about entrepreneurs who work to improve and expand our human well-being by bringing cutting-edge technologies and ideas to life. Your host is Marie Dahlgren. In this episode, she talks to Graham Brown. Graham is Director of Manufacturing at Lush Fresh Handmade Cosmetics. He is passionate about family and love, a lush life, and lifelong learning. And now, here's a conversation with Graham Brown.
First of all, I would like to introduce my podcast to you so you understand a little bit more what is going on here. I started my podcast, which is called EnsoReal Paradigm Shifters, for entrepreneurs, for and about entrepreneurs who bring cutting-edge, innovative technologies and ideas to life to contribute into our common well-being as society community. So that's why I decided to invite you, and thank you that you agreed to do this. And my first question would be, what's something about you that people would be surprised to know? How do you think?
Surprised to know. Let's see. That's a good question. It might be surprised to know that that I'm a trained jazz trumpet player.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And when did you start to do this?
I did that as a young adult in elementary school, and then I was in a competitive jazz bands in high school, and we won the best band in Canada in Calgary in 1998. Much to our surprise. Yeah, thank you.
That's impressive. And what do you like the most about this?
For me, it was music as a self-expression, but it also kicked off sort of a theme in my life that I really enjoy being on winning teams. So whether it's sports, music, business, I just love being on winning teams where you're trying to do something as a group, something larger than yourself. So that was a huge moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. And Graham, how would you want to be introduced today to our listeners? I'm asking deliberately. I have read your description and introduction of yourself, but sometimes when I'm asking this question, people tend to present themselves slightly different. So how would you be introduced?
Sure. I'd probably introduce myself as proud father of three. I have my 19th wedding anniversary coming up this August. My boys are 15 and 13, and my daughter's 5. And I'm the one of the founding partners of Lush North America. So Lush is a British brand that started about 24 years ago, and we were early to bring Lush to Canada. And so I'm the director of manufacturing for Lush North America. We have 250 stores in Canada and the US, and the brand is in 46 different countries. So we have 950 shops worldwide. And the great thing about Lush is just a really interesting business with a lot of people. It's a handmade product. And so our teams are very large. So it's a really interesting opportunity to interface with a lot of people. We probably have about 7,000 or 8,000 core staff year round. And then it grows a lot at Christmas time. So it's a fun game to play. Large team.
Yes, it's really impressive. And I made a little bit of research before our interview, of course. And I have read such words on the website of Lush. Charitable giving is at the heart of our business. Could you tell a little bit more about this and why it is so?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I think what comes to mind when you ask that is, our founder, our chairman, Mark Constantine, has said, let's do commerce with a conscience. So he established what's called the Charity Pot program. And what that is it's an actual physical product. We have a lot of our face creams and things come in a black pot that looks a bit like a yogurt container with a chalkboard writing on it. That was the inspiration. And we take 100% of the sales dollars of that product worldwide, obviously minus the sales tax, the different governmental sales taxes, and we put all that money into a pot of funds that go to small grassroots organizations that make change in the world, both mainly in the environmental, human rights, and animal rights areas. Mm-hmm. So that is very core to what we do, because it creates a lot of engagement with the staff where they can connect to causes that they believe in. So we use our retail store platform as a chance to campaign and give out what we believe in, and we also use the funds to support a lot of great organizations in the world.
That's amazing. Actually, it's fantastic. Like contribution beyond yourself, I think that's the best value you can only leave. And what is Sustainable Lush Fund? Is it the same?
Sustainable Lush Fund is a little bit different because it's not for grassroots organizations. What it is we set aside additional money, 2% of our purchase value, actually. So when we're a pretty vertically integrated business, so we're not just a retailer. We also manufacture our product by hand, as I mentioned before. So we have to purchase all the ingredients from abroad, locally and abroad. And so when we buy our raw materials, we set aside 2% of our purchase value of those raw materials into a slush fund as well. So slush stands for Sustainable Lush, and we use that money to reinvest into regenerative and permaculture initiatives across the globe. So not only is it help us have a sustainable supply chain, but it's really great because we work a lot with setting up economic viability in different areas of the world. So it's fantastic that way.
Yes, and thank you very much for sharing. And again, I have read on your website, and it's very curious, at least for me. There are such words that our innovation counters globalization, but as with all dreams, it ends with responsibility. Why it is so important to be innovative for you personally and for your company? And what is your opinion on globalization and unification?
Okay, so I think it's around the idea of growth for growth's sake is a bit of a hollow pursuit. So, if the actual pursuit is to grow, to get larger, to generate larger revenues, that's not what we're about. We're about, I think what's important to us is we're about greening the desert, to quote Simon Constantine, one of the founders' sons. If we can actually improve the physical environments and things that we interface with versus just take. So also our founder and CEO, Mark Wolverton, said, we want to give back twice as what we take out of the environment. So that's our goal. It's a bit of a lofty goal, but I think the idea is just, it's important to look at not just sustainability, but regenerative inputs. That would be my answer to that.
That's amazing. And I think it's a great example for all the entrepreneurs. And again, I have such words from the website, from the social media. We believe that all people should enjoy freedom of movement across the world. Why it is so for you and your company?
Yeah, well, that's around, borders are one of those human constructs that, although I understand it, it's like something that we believe there should be free movement all over the world. So this was even prior to Brexit in the UK and prior to Donald Trump in the US. Just the idea of, we believe human beings should enjoy free movement across the world. And as far as trade goes, it's a complicated topic. It's not my main expertise, but I think it's primarily that we believe in the free movement of people.
And if I would ask you about your ideal vision of the world, what would it be? How do you think?
Ideal. That's a very challenging question. I think I would say ideal view of the world would be where our purpose is to spread love and prosperity around the world. I think if we can do that instead of fight and protect borders, that would be my perfect view.
That's great. That's great, because my impression about Lush company, that this company really lives its values. And speaking about values, I have read that your products, all of the Lush products, are handmade. There is such a value as ethical buying, not tested on animals, and all the products are vegetarian. And what are these values mean for you personally? How do you think?
Yeah, well, those are good values there. We're also we have lots of vegan options as well, and I think just the idea there is the founders started with a view of non-animal cruelty, so use of animals, not using animals in the product, and also not testing the cosmetics or any of the ingredients on animals. So that's a big value there. They're also designed, formulated with a lot of products who are what we call naked. So they're either minimally packaged or have no packaging at all. They're solid. Mm-hmm. So the idea there is we're not contributing to the waste stream for the environment.
That's great.
So, for me, the values were fundamental. It's just nice to be in part of something where you believe you're doing the right things, and for yourself and your family and the planet.
That's great. That's amazing. And if you would have superpower, what you would like to change in the world? How do you think?
Superpower. Clean, renewable energy, I would probably say.
That's great.
Yeah, because with that, then you could preserve the environment and use our ingenuity and resources for improving other things, and for health and welfare of everybody.
That's great. That's great. And could you share with us, please, what is one biggest challenge you are facing currently in your business? Because we all have challenges, and all businesses have challenges too. So what is yours?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge we have right now is alignment across the brand. So we have, as I mentioned before, we're in about 46 different countries. It's a licensor and licensee arrangement, and it's been described as tribes before. So we have North American tribe, and then we have manufacturing business, we have a retail business unit, we have office support. So we have all these tribes across the globe, and having everybody be aligned and understanding what to do is across so many diverse groups of people, not only in your own region, but across the globe is probably our biggest challenge right now.
Thank you very much. And how you're going to overcome this challenge?
Well, it's a conscious effort to keep the communication up, to keep sharing the vision, and to keep working on the relationships, because usually the challenges come from communication breakdowns, and then in lack of communication, people make up information. So
true.
So it's best to stay very proactive, and so we're looking at all sorts of organizational structures. One a friend introduced to me called Scrum as well, which is a way of self-organizing teams. So I'm interested in exploring that. So I think innovation is beyond just the product side. It's also an organizational development. And, we are human beings across the globe. So we're fallible and we have individual needs as well. So I think the biggest challenge is, just alignment of different people with different ideas and different styles of communication and processing information, receiving information. That's our biggest challenge, and we're working hard to keep everybody engaged and involved in the initiatives of the company.
That's great. Sounds great. And you mentioned Scrum. Could you please tell a little bit more about this system to our listeners? Because I'm more than sure that a lot of people don't know about this system, but it's really good.
Yes, I'll do my best. So just really briefly, because I'm new to the concept.
Yes.
I believe one of the developers was, he wrote a book called Scrum, I believe is Jeff Sutherland, and the basic premise is not a traditional manager and direct report structure, but a Scrum leader, and where you have small groups of teams that do weekly sprints, and where the Scrum leader's main job, team leader's main job, is to remove constraints from the team. So it's a new way of having self-organized teams, a little bit different than, I'd say is pretty typical in the North American business structure of a manager and a direct report. And it's to try to put the customer-facing challenges in the hands of the team to deal with straight away, without any layers of hierarchy to weed through in order to get decisions made. So, and I'm probably not anywhere near doing it justice, but that would be my quick synopsis of what I believe it is. And I'm looking forward to looking into it further. And I hope any of your listeners that, would like to correct me or have questions about that's totally excellent. I think that's fine.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned about listeners. What if some of our listeners would want to contact you and to collaborate, maybe, or they would want to ask something, how they can contact you?
Yeah, so I'm on, all the usual channels, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I also have a new website that I'm wanting to put content on for blogs. And so I can be reached on there in terms of questions as well, because it's not meant to be me just talking at anybody. It's supposed to be interactive as well.
Yeah.
So I think Twitter and which has my website on there as well. It's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
That's great. And what is one fact you would want to share with people about yourself today?
One fact. Well, I'm a squash fanatic, and that's not squash the vegetable. It's the sport. It's a racket sport, and it's just, to me, one of those hidden sports that not a lot of people know about. But for me, it's a great life metaphor, because it's something that you can get into flow when you're playing. It's very physically and mentally challenging, which I enjoy. It's a game, but I like to say it's a sport as well. So not just a game. And I think it's a metaphor for life, where you're constantly growing yourself and testing your abilities. And yeah, I'm hugely passionate about squash, and this is something I'd like to share.
That's great. And you mentioned flow. How would you describe the flow state, or state of flow?
Yeah, it's almost like time does slow down. It's very interesting. So when I've been in my best squash moments, everything else just falls away. So you're in a zone of, I don't want to say effortlessness, because it's not that. It's more about you're very in the present moment, extremely in the present moment. Time seems to really slow down, and you're not in your head about your concerns about what's happening. You're just in the moment, and yeah, I mean, it's an incredible thing that I've tried to recreate in other aspects of my life. So I think the closest other areas I've been to is when I'm performing music of some sort, singing or playing guitar. And there's other times I've reached it as well, but I think I do get to the flow state most often with physical activity.
That's interesting. And do you meditate, Graham?
I do. I have a practice where I primarily use the app called Headspace, and I endeavor to have at least 20 minutes of meditation in the morning each day. I must admit, I do not always get there where it's each and every day. So I'm working on that, building that habit, installing that practice. But the Headspace app has been really helpful to give me some structure for that.
That's interesting. And would you share with us your passion? What is your passion? How do you think in life?
My passion in life. I really think it's about creating beautiful moments for my family and friends. So, when you get in those flow state, that to me, that's a beautiful moment for yourself. But I'm also thinking that, our lives are short. And so as we're growing and enjoying those challenges and all seasons of our lives, the good, bad, and ugly times that we all have, that if we can just create beautiful moments for each other and spread love, that's what I'm mainly passionate about. Is my daughter made me a Father's Day gift recently, and it was a keychain essentially, but it was a message of little words and made of beads, and it was my name, and it was also a description that she picked. She's 5 years old. She picked this on her own, and it said, "Loving Graham." And I just think at the end of the day, that's what my life is about, is just to try to be a contribution to as many people as possible. And it starts with myself, which I haven't always been. I'm probably, I know it's a cliche, but there's a lot of wisdom in cliches. I've been my own worst critic. So I've been trying to learn to love myself, imperfections and all, more and more. And then what I found is when I work on that, then I'm more in a position to have gratitude and be able to love others. So it does really start with yourself. And so I'm passionate about being the best person that I can be for myself, but also so that I show up for others and be a contribution to others as best I can.
That's fantastic.
So that's my passion.
Yes, for me it sounds that it's all about creating the possibility to create and to share, to contribute. And my question is, when did you decide exactly, maybe you would want to share and recall the moment in your life when you decided to become Loving Graham?
I'm not sure if I have a specific moment that I can think of. I can share with you an experience though, that I was adopted. So my birth mother was 15 years old back in the days when it was probably not. There's a lot of social pressures to not have children out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And so before I had children, I did, through the Freedom of Information Act, I requested my birth file and found out, just to see if there's any medical history I should know about.
Yeah.
And I found out my birth mother's name and my birth name. And it's just a moment that I'd like to share that I can describe. Just had a flash of the sort of the tree of life visually in my mind. The idea that you never know when you make your decisions and choices in life where you'll end up.
Yes.
And it just flashed in my mind that how fortunate I was that my birth mother made that decision, that she didn't feel capable of taking care of me, and that my parents, my lovely parents, chose intentionally to be very intentional, loving parents for me. And I just had an overwhelming sense of love and being intentional with that when I read that. And so I think my life was building up to that. But I think in that moment I realized that, yeah, that's interesting. And the best way I can repay that is to just, and my grandfather taught me this as well, is yeah, Graham, don't thank me for what I did for your parents, your mom, but just pass it on to the next generation. So, it's the circle of life. So that's probably the closest thing that when you ask me that question that comes to mind is getting that real sense of being intentional with being the best person you can to repay the people that have loved and taken care of you.
That's great. That's great. That's amazing. How it actually feels like to be you?
Oh, to be me. Yeah, it is wonderful to be me. It's a constant, it's an interesting constant battle between gratitude and seeking and realizing gratitude every day, and then working against my strong suits, which is that sense of survival and working hard every day. So what it's like to be me is, yeah, I don't know. It's this human experience that I think it's my own human experience. We all have it, and and it's different for everybody. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but that's just what I'm thinking right now, is that it is a joy and a battle all at the same time.
The reason I'm asking these questions, because for me, it sounds like you're one of the rarest people who manage to combine creativity and logics.
I see.
Because a lot of times people have one or another, and they perceive these creativity and logics like something which can actually live in unity. But you're the rarest example. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. What I was thinking when you're saying that is, I believe we all have preferences, and so we tend to think that we are not one thing and we are another. But I think we have all the dimensions of in different, obviously different amounts and different preferences. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that because what comes to mind when you say that is, I do enjoy, like, I'm a scientist as well. When I went through university, I took a science degree, a Bachelor of Science degree, and master's in biology and biochemistry, honors degree in biology and biochemistry. However, I never went to school to be a scientist and working in a lab somewhere. I went to school not as a means to an end, but as a learning process. Yeah. And I work in manufacturing business and in the corporate world right now. I would also say that I'd probably be just as happy doing something way more obscure, like playing music, or like one childhood moment of flow that I remember is playing percussion, the driftwood percussion on the beach. So if you can imagine just picking up driftwood and my aunt taught me that. So I think we all have those bits of creativity and logic and reason, and we tend to run those systems and routines and neural networks of what we're comfortable with and what has given us success, that sort of survival mode I was talking about, and that reinforces what we think we're good at, and we hold on to those things so much. I think we're all capable of much more, and we can develop other pathways. And so, I appreciate you acknowledging that part. That's nice of you to say. I don't know how rare I am. I think we can all do that. I think we can all develop ourselves and tap into those other areas that we don't believe we're good at, if we just give ourselves the freedom and permission to do so, really.
Yes, yes, I agree with you, absolutely. And you told previously that Lush Cosmetics company is about 24 years old now, right?
Yes.
And how this idea to create something like that, like Lush, like this innovative company, came to you, into your mind? Yeah,
sure. So I can't take credit for founding the company itself. The founders are a group of people out of the UK that is their self-expression. So they have been making lovely hair and skin products for years. So they were contract manufacturers for the Body Shop years ago. Mm-hmm. And they sold those formulas and rights back to the Body Shop, and started a cosmetics business, a mail order business called Cosmetics to Go. And then after Cosmetics to Go, they founded Lush. They didn't have a global expansion strategy at all. They wanted to open a few shops in Greater London, but it was extremely popular, and they had everybody sort of knocking on their door looking for expansion opportunities. So in North America, here in Canada, in Vancouver, BC is where I'm living and working at the moment. We were the first expansion outside of Greater London 23 and a half years ago. So we brought the brand to Canada, and then did that business from 1996 to 2002. And then we opened our first US store in San Francisco in 2002. And we've grown from there. So the founders, as a self-expression, make all sorts of lovely products. They've had thousands of formulas they've worked on over the years. And so They just do it as a self-expression. They love it, and they create wonderful fragrances and wonderful products. And so we've been very fortunate to partner with them and bring it over here to North America.
That's great. And I'm just curious about the business model of the Lush Cosmetics. Do you work through franchise, or how?
No, it's there's no franchise. It's a license agreement for different areas. So we negotiated the license agreement for Canada to start, and that had a requirement in the license agreement to open manufacturing. So it's a close to source model where you make fresh cosmetics frequently and often and deliver it close to your store base. So we have 2 factories in Canada, one in Vancouver and one in Toronto. And then we had an agreement to open a certain amount of retail stores as well. So as Lush expanded, they had other areas that they expanded into as well. Croatia, Sweden, all over Europe, Japan, Australia, and each of those areas had their own license agreement and a different set of partners. Mm-hmm. All the stores are corporately owned, so they're not franchised. You can't buy a particular franchise store. You have to negotiate a license agreement for a different region. A lot of the regions have been since consolidated and repurchased back from the original partners. So, for example, Sweden, Germany, a lot of these markets were repurchased by the UK. So the largest markets right now are North America, so Canada and the US, Japan, Australia, and Europe. As I said, we're in 46 different countries, but those are the largest areas that also manufacture as well.
And what are the requirements to have such a license?
That's a good question. Well, I think that's probably on the UK's. On the UK website, they probably have information on who to contact. They're not actively looking for new areas and new partners, as far as I know. So I can't list a set of criteria, but it is a partnership. So, there's obviously a certain amount of business acumen and experience in the retail industry that would be helpful. Not every region like Russia is another big market. I knew I'd failed to mention some of them, but they don't manufacture that, but they import the product over from England. Yeah. So not every area has to manufacture. It's helpful to be able to do that, but that's a difficult business to run. So business acumen, a little bit of, funds are required because it does take some capital to get a business up and running, and retail experience and sales and marketing experience would be helpful.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer. And I have read that the world's largest Lush shop was opened 3 years ago in London on Oxford Street. And it's a 3-story building with more than 8,800 square feet to explore. And could you please tell and explain a little bit more to me and to our listeners what differentiates this shop from others?
Sure. Yes. So as we grew the business, I would say the average square footage of most of the retail stores across the world was anywhere from some really small ones, 250 square feet, to some potentially a little bit larger ones, 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. But I would say the average was probably somewhere around 800 to 1,200 square feet. That was the typical store size. And as we were growing, that was quite nice. It's quite a nice size of shop. But what we found is we couldn't quite expose the customers to all the product ranges in a interactive format. So what we found out is that if you can actually have consultation tables for skincare, if you can have sinks for washing hair, if you can expand the experience and even include a spa in our store. So the Oxford Street store was a culmination of a vision of larger flagship stores. And that is and was the largest flagship store worldwide. As you mentioned, I think the sellable square footage is just under 9,000 square feet, as you mentioned. It's on 3 levels. what the founders did is they did a rapid innovation to fill up that store with new products. So we have I would say, not including multiple sizes, and not including seasonal product ranges like Christmas and Father's Day, Mother's Day type seasonal ranges, we have about 350 different products in our store base at any given time. And we discontinue some and bring a new innovation. What they did is a huge burst of innovation for that Oxford Street store, and they developed another 300 brand new products just exclusive for that store opening. And they did that in a really compressed period of time, like 100 days or something crazy like that. It was for the 20-year anniversary of the brand. So the larger space allowed them to design the store to be much more interactive. So they have a fragrance area, hair care area, skincare area, spa, where you can literally get massage and really innovative spa treatments, and very large sinks, interactive sinks. So for having bath bomb demos and lots of fun stuff to do with the customers, and barber's chairs for washing your hair. And so yeah, it was an all immersive. The idea was an immersive experience for the customers to experience the products in a whole elevated level, versus a small cramped, busy store, standing room only type environment, right? And so these stores are still busy, but there's much more fun and interactivity with products and stuff.
Yes, that's really creative. Thank you. And again, I have read that Lush is the proud supporter of LGBTQ2+ community. So my question is, why it is so? As late as 1973, it was considered a sexual disorder, actually. And in many countries, these people still are treated as in a not very good way. So what would you want to share about this with our listeners today?
Yeah, just that we're a huge advocate of human rights, and the labels we've given one another. I just think we all have to have an open mind about supporting people with their greatest self-expression. Who are we to judge other people and say you should behave a certain way? I think we're very passionate about people being to be their authentic selves, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so we are a diverse employer, and what I mean by that is not diversity as a strategy, but as a value. So, we just really believe that human beings deserve to be in supportive environments where they can contribute to one another and be supportive of one another and free of any types of persecution. So, the whole space of how people identify themselves and the pronouns they use and all that, it's an interesting thing that I think the greater society needs to educate themselves more and more about. And I'm just really happy that people feel safe and supported, and however they want to show up and contribute to our community. So I think that's the main message there is love and acceptance.
Yeah, thank you very much. And could you please share, maybe you would want to share the secret of your success, your personal secret of your success with our listeners?
I would say, and I'm not the first to say this. I'll give credit where credit's due. I'll give a couple points, but I'll give credits where credit's due to Gary Vaynerchuk is one of the areas that I've learned a lot from, in terms of, he talks about patience.
Yeah.
So I think one of the secrets to my success is, I've been at the Lush business for over 22 years now. I don't know how common that is for people to stay at something. I would say macro patience, like be able to stay at something for long periods of time, and micro hustle. So to quote Gary Vaynerchuk. So hustle and work hard every day and really go for it and push, but also be patient and go through the seasons. And then my second secret of success I would like to share with everybody is Yeah, the power of ideas. So, and I got disillusioned with it a little bit, but I got reignited with this passion of mine in 2016, which is to devour all sorts of content. So podcasts, books, documentaries. I just think that, you can hear an idea, a concept that can shift your whole reality and your whole mindset. And so, that would be my other bit of advice. If it's unsolicited advice or secret to my success, is just never stop learning. Just devour concepts and ideas and listen to podcasts and read every day if you can. And you really never know what even a small phrase or a small inspiration will do for you or lead to, and we all stand on the shoulder of giants. So, contribute to one another and learn. And you never know what that one little piece of information or phrase might really make the big difference or give you a business idea. And follow your instincts is the other thing. So, I started with Lush and I had no idea the success that it would become. So it seems easy in hindsight after the fact, but it's just one of those moments in your life where you have a gut feeling, well, this looks like an interesting opportunity. So, follow your instincts. I think sometimes your instincts are more powerful than intellect as well.
Yeah. Is it about instincts or more about listening to your heart? How do you think? Or these are
I think those are closely related. Mm-hmm. Some people call it gut and instincts. I think heart is a big part of that as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And would you share, please, with us the story of your life when you experienced the biggest aha moment?
Yeah. So, and when I thought about that question, so my recent one was, it was in June of 2016. I was at an event called the Personal Mastery Academy, put on by Robin Sharma. And he really resonates with me because he, as I mentioned, I have a science background. So he marries self-development with a lot of scientific, brain chemistry, science, and things like that as well. So it's a really interesting pairing of techniques like meditation but what the benefits of those things are as well and the scientific evidence behind it. Anyways, one of the huge aha moments I had was he talked about all of us. We're battling a lot of addiction to distraction these days. And what I mean by that is technology is wonderful. There's what a great way to connect people through social media and all these different mediums. However, I realized that even myself, I was suffering from an addiction to distraction in a lot of ways. So, and I used to be able to just justify it and rationalize it easily. Hey, look, I'm on my phone. I'm playing a game on my phone right now. Don't bother me about that. I'm a successful, hardworking, loving father and husband. And, if I just want to take some time out for myself and mindlessly play games on my phone for a couple hours, well, that's my right. So who are you to say, to bug me about that? And, in a lot of ways that's true. But what he said to me gave me access to the fact that, oh, that's okay. He said, what you're doing is you're self-medicating against the pain of not expressing your greatest self. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing something recreational and distracting yourself by playing a game. But just consider that what you could be doing, and this is necessarily, this is certainly what I felt. It's not necessarily applies to everybody, but we have things like Netflix and social media, and we can actually be so distracted by these things. I don't think it's an accident that we binge watch shows and we're addicted to entertainment and distraction. What are we medicating against? Well, we're medicating against, there's actual pain there underneath. I'm not living my best self-expression right now, and I'm not serving my others and myself in the best possible way. And so I realized that was what I was doing. And I deleted the games off my phone in that very instant. Even though my wife had told me many times, my wife had told me, hey, get off your phone. Yeah, she was right. And of course, your wife is generally mostly right most of the time. You need to listen to her more often. but you know, and I joke, but it's true. But it's just the same concept, but presented to me in a different idea.
Yeah.
It gave me access to something new, and so that was one recent aha moment that I had.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting. Yes. And would you share with us your predictions of the future of your industry? How do you think what will happen in 10 years, for instance, or 15?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the industry I'm in is the retail industry. So I think we're already under a shift of, and bricks and mortar stores are not going to go away, but I think there's a lot more focus to online and content online. So, you know, Jack Constantine, one of the founders in the UK, he's working towards channels of content. Mm-hmm. So, you know, so the Lush player is one thing that we have. So he's actually kicking out a lot of content over the ether, or over the internet as well. So I think, yeah, in 10 to 15 years, you'll see more and more shift away from only physical retail locations to a lot more digital trade and digital content. So that's not a new concept. I just see that, you know, that's not a revelation for anybody, but I just see it going more and more to content generation as well. And I hope that that more people follow in terms of, you know, that concept of commerce with a conscience. So, you know, just trading not just for growth and profit's sake, but also for innovation of new ways of living and growing. So, I mean, that's my hope and dream for the future of the industry, personally.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And what would be your main message or maybe advice to the entrepreneurs who are listening to us currently, and maybe they're just in the beginning or in the middle of their journey, and some of them may be doing micro hustling but not so patient. So what would be your message to them?
I would say enjoy the process. Focus on the process. It's great to have goals, and it's great to have targets. And it is around that patience a little bit as well. Is if you get to love the process itself, then it really helps, I think, because there are difficult moments. I'm not going to lie. For all you guys out there, there's going to be times where you feel like doing something else, or stopping, or you know, what am I on to the right track or not? But you know, there's no such thing as failure or a waste of time, in my opinion. You know, so if you go down a certain path and you find resistance, you know, work as hard as you can to break through the resistance, because and my view is that the resistance is definitely, and this is a whole other topic. There's a book on resistance as well. I can't remember the author off the top of my head. But that you know, the resistance shows up, and it's proportional to the commitment you have, and it's proportional to what ends up on the other side of that, you know, of that resistance. So don't know. I mean, I suppose my advice would be learn to love the process itself.
Learn to love the process itself. That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. And my question is the following. Please imagine that you're sitting in your rocking chair and you're 80 or maybe 85, and it's your birthday. And you're in your house, and your family, your children, and maybe grandchildren gathering all together. And you're just sitting and observing what is going on there, and they're discussing you. How do you think? What are they telling about you? What are their words?
So they're talking about me, and describing my life and trying to give me a present. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Hmm.
They don't know that you can hear them.
Right.
That's what they're doing. And my question, what do you hear right now?
Yeah, interesting.
What are their words about you, about your life?
I don't know. I would maybe like to think that they would be thinking about experiences, because things themselves, I like to have nice things, but and it is another cliche, but I do believe that experiences, doing something together, something around music. I just something about live music that I just think it touches my heart and my soul. So being together and experiencing something together, maybe with some music, some talk, that would be the biggest present. So I would hope they would know that about me, and we'd be creating those moments, not just for me as well, but for one another, where we could enjoy that, because that probably at that stage of my life, and I'm almost getting there as well. Even as a younger man, that think nice things are great, but I can definitely see the wisdom of experiences and time together, and being in the moment is much more quote unquote valuable than things.
That's great. That's amazing. It's creation, contribution, and experiencing life. Thank you very much. Is there something I didn't ask you about today, but you would like to talk about?
The only other thing I would maybe mention, and I don't know if there's a question that follows from that, but the other part that I really like from Robin Sharma's teaching is that your exterior empire, so what your life looks like, your outside empire is completely a reflection of your internal empire.
Yes.
So, I'm working on that. I'm working on he talks about it in 4 different realms. So health set, heart set, soul set, and mindset. So a lot of people talk about mindset.
Yeah.
He says that's only 25% of the equation, right? You also need heart set, health set, and soul set. So I've been working on all 4 of those. You mentioned being 85-year-olds in a rocking chair. One of my goals is to be dancing at my great-grandchildren's wedding as well. So I'm looking at my health set. I'm trying to fortify my interior empire as much as I can to be around. I want to live long enough that I can take advantage, because I do believe there's technological innovations coming around health as well. Yeah. So I just want to live long enough that I can have a legacy and be dancing at my great-grandchildren's wedding.
That's great.
So I don't know if there's a question in there, but
that's cool.
Just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time and such an interesting interview. A lot of very valuable information, and to be honest, it's a very good feeling just to talk with you and to know that there is such a person who shares such great values and contributes to others. Thank you very much for your time and for what you're doing.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. And thank you for what you're doing. Keep it up. That's incredible. Thank you for connecting everybody. And yeah, I'm very, very impressed. And I wish you all the best and everyone the very best of success.
Thank you very much.
And love.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.